What's going on, guys? I'm Built, and welcome back to another lesson here on the School of Redstone. In today's video, we're going to be going over a brand new item, which I was not originally planning on covering. However, I think that the item is about done with the beta stages, and I think that they're pretty much finalized with the design, so I think that it's going to be just about safe to cover this. However, just keep in mind that things are subject to change inside of the future if the devs see any reason to make any changes. With that being said, we are going to jump into that here shortly. However, there are a few things that I want to cover before we jump into it. The first thing is on droppers and dispensers. It was brought to my attention that I forgot to mention a very important mechanic about a dispenser and a dropper. And that mechanic is whenever you are using a dropper or dispenser, it is going to randomize whatever item is outputted. So it might pick the first one, it might pick the fifth one, it might pick the seventh one. It's all entirely random. So in order to demonstrate that, we can hit this button here. And as you can see, we have a oak wood that just popped out, which was inside of the third slot. If we hit this again, then we are going to have the dark oak that popped out, which is going to be in the number 6 spot. If we hit it again, we are going to have the birch that popped out, which was inside of the 2nd spot. So keep in mind, whenever you are using a dropper or dispenser, whenever you are dispensing them or dropping them out of them, they are going to be released inside of a random order. This can be very handy for all sorts of things, such as randomizers or a whole plethora of different redstone designs. The next thing that I want to go over is hoppers. Hoppers have actually had a huge update to them, potentially the biggest update of all time, and I am super excited about it. You see, just as long as hoppers have been on Bedrock Edition, they have been plagued with some horrible bugs, and those bugs included some of the following. Whenever this hopper had the entire inventory filled up but still had empty spots, so for example, for a sorting system, you would generally have an item that you want to be sorted, and then you would have 4 other blocks that would not be going inside of the sorting system. If you threw an item on top of the hopper that was not inside of the sorting system, this item would essentially lock the hopper, and then if you threw the item that is actually inside of the hopper on top of it with the other item on top of it, the hopper should pull the item into it. However, because it has an item on top of it that is not inside of the hopper's inventory, it actually locked the hopper, making it to where the item that was inside of it with the available slot, it made it to where it would not pull that item into the hopper. That bug broke so many different farm designs and actually broke one of the tutorials that I wanted to upload onto the channel for you guys, and since that bug is fixed, I'm going to be able to upload that tutorial, which is going to be my piglin bartering farm. That piglin bartering farm is absolutely crazy, and if you have any interest in building that, then I highly recommend that you subscribe to the channel because it will be coming up on the channel soon. The next bug fix has to do with the hoppers being able to pull items through non-full blocks. So this mud, as you can see, is not a completely full block. If we step on top of this gold block, and then we step on this mud, you can see that we actually sink down, and we're only sinking down about a pixel. So before, the hoppers would only pick up an item through a block if the block on top of it was below something like a half a block. So if you use something like a half slab, then that would allow the hopper to actually pull it through that half slab. However, now that that bug is fixed and now the parity is pretty much the same as Java, we are able to pull any item through any block that is less than a half a block, with the exclusion of containers. So if you have a chest is actually a partial block. As you can see, it's not a full block. However, because it has an inventory, it's not going to be able to pull an item from the top of the chest like that. It's just going to pull from the container itself. Now, because we are inside of the current stable release, this has actually not been implemented into the game yet. So if we throw this on top of there, as you can see, it's going to hover over top of that. However, we're going to retest this whenever we go into the beta testing and see if it is actually fixed, because we're going to have to go into the beta testing to test the bookshelves out anyways. With that being said, we are inside of the 1.19.60 update, which means that the hopper bug has been implemented inside of this update, so the multi-item being pulled into it is now fixed, which is super excited. However, we are going to have to wait another update or so for the items to be pulled through a non-full block. So now that we are on the new Minecraft preview, we will have access to all of the new stuff, and as you can see down here in the bottom right, we are on 1.19.70.21, which is the latest beta preview. So we can go to play preview, and in order to get all of these fantastic new blocks, we do need to scroll down here and toggle on the next major update. Activate experiments. It's going to make a quick world copy, and then we can go into this one. And now that we are loaded into the world, we can now retry this test and throw an item on top of this hopper. And as you can see, it actually gets pulled into the hopper because that is less than one full block. And we have the gold blocks down inside of the hopper, which is so exciting. I've been waiting so long for this bug to be fixed. And since we are inside of the update preview, we have all of these new amazing blocks, such as all of the bamboo blocks. We have the planks, we got fence gates, fences there, and a whole plethora of different blocks. However, the one that we want to focus on is going to be the redstone related one, of course, which is going to be right up here. And we'll grab some of these so we can experiment with these a little bit. I'm also really excited about the hanging signs. I think these are going to add a lot of different characteristics to building. So let's go ahead and go over the mechanics of the chiseled bookshelf as how it is written out on the wiki. Keep in mind, as I have mentioned, this is subject to change. Now this block does mostly function as a container, meaning that you can use a hopper and place a hopper on top of it. And if we grab a hopper, throw it down on top of it, and throw some books inside of here, you can see that those are actually going to be placed in. And we can throw some more, and as you can see, it's filling from left to right. So it's going to fill this one first, and then the second, then the third, and so forth. And then if we take this same exact chiseled bookshelf, we're going to copy the MBT data on that, and put it on top of this hopper. Then as you can see, it's going to pull all of those books out from left to right. So it's going to start with the first, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. So it's not going to randomize it at all. However, if we take it and put it on top of the dropper, remember that we could take the dropper and put items inside of a container. And let's go ahead and grab an empty bookshelf and put that on top instead. Then we're going to throw some books inside of here. We're going to throw those blocks out of there because we can't put the blocks inside of a bookshelf. And then we can hit that button. And as you can see, even though this dispenses randomly, it's still going to fill the chiseled bookshelf the same way that it's going to fill a container such as a chest. It's going to fill it from left to right, so it's going to be first, then second, then third, then fourth. And we can keep on going and fill the entire thing up if we would like. However, the way that this differs from actually being a container is we can take a book and put that away so we have an empty hand, and we can actually reach on these and grab these books out individually if we wanted. Just like that, which is a very, very cool characteristic, and I love the fact that you can actually pick and choose what book that you pull out of here. The really cool thing about this as well is we can use redstone with it. Now the redstone does not function the way that you would think that it would. Now typically the comparator would read a container, and as we mentioned before in the previous lessons, the comparator would put out a signal depending on how full the container is. This does not function like that. The way that this works is this redstone comparator is going to put out a redstone signal. As you can see, it's completely empty, but we still have a signal being put out. And that is because this is going to put out a redstone signal depending on what slot was last interacted with. So if we interact with the first slot here, and we put a book in number 1, then it is going to put out a redstone signal of 1. Same thing if we go and remove that book. Since we last interacted with the first slot, it's going to still put out a signal strength of 1. If we interact with the 5th slot down here and put a book down the 5th slot, we're going to have a signal strength of 5 coming out. And the same thing goes if we remove that book, it's still going to stay as 5. And so forth. If we go to 6, we get a signal strength of 6. If we interact with number 2 and put in another book, we're going to only have a signal strength of number 2. If we go to 4, we're going to have a signal strength of 4. Like I said, it does not go by the percentage of how full this bookshelf is. It goes by the last interacted slot, which is a really, really cool mechanic, and this is going to be so good for combination locks and things of that nature. Now keep in mind this does practically interact with all books, so if you have books and quill, you can throw those inside of there as well, and it's going to update it just like it would any enchanted book. And even if you have regular books, you can throw regular books inside of there as well, and that's going to work also. And you guys know me, I had to go and make a really quick mock-up of a combination lock. Now this one is very, very simple and very basic. However, this is just kind of showing the principle as to how this could work. Now the only two relevant chiseled bookshelves that we need to pay attention to is this one here and this one here. These are the two that we're going to place our combination in. This is the only relevant barrel that we have here, which is going to dispense an item if the combination is correct. So if we click in here, you can see that it's empty. If we take a book and we place a book in the number 1 spot, and then on this one we place it in the number 5 spot, as you can see, nothing's going to happen. If we do a number 3 on this side, and we do a number 4 on this side, nothing's going to happen. However, if we do a 2 on this side, which is 2 being the last interacted with, and then 4 being the last interacted with, regardless if a book is in there or not, that's going to be the last interacted slot, and that's going to be the combination. So 2 here and 4 here, which is going to give us a block of netherite. And as you can see, it's very simple on the back. We just have 2 of these red coders, which are going to put in the correct combination, and as soon as the correct combination goes in, it's going to dispense a item out of that dropper. We are going to be going over more with red coders in future lessons, so make sure that you're subscribed, that way you don't miss any of the upcoming lessons. That's going to about wrap it up for this lesson. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.